Donha Business Connect show this week, we talked to the master auctioneer, Ross Foreman, and what it takes to do the job.
You could make $1 million for a seller and he doesn't even give you a bottle of champagne.
We also have RAVI SINGH from Donha Real Estate and the challenge of being an agent. I remember one time you sold, was it 19 properties and 18 of them fall over?
Yeah, just before Christmas.
Oh man. And Tina from TOTARA Hospice, who tells us what hospice is really like.
The hospice is not a hospital, and it aims really to be a place where patients and families can make the most of the time that they have left.
All this and some great projects on Donha Business Connect show. And joining me now is Ross Foreman. Ross Foreman must be the grandmaster of real estate. So Ross, look, I've been in real estate now since 1994. I met you then and you're still in real estate now. You must have the most knowledgeable real estate information career in the industry. So can you give us a bit of a background when you started and why you're still here?
Good, okay, can do that. And I remember every day just about.
Right.
Not really, but I started in 1972
I was born in 1968.
There you are.
So I was 4 years.
Just a little fella.
Yeah.
So 72, started at Barfoot and Thompson in Royal Oak.
Okay.
And I had great years there. And the key with that was good master. You know, the trainer, the guy that was the manager there was of my ilk. He was an ex-motor mechanic. Grew up, you know, in the country down in Wanganui. So we sort of matched each other. But he was a real hands-on realtor, and the key that I found there was learn how to write a good contract, what was in the contract meant something and got you the deal, got the vendor the deal. Also writing good copy. In those days we had 5-line run-on ads and you couldn't have a wasted word. Right. So 5-line run-on ads was about 26 words, so you had to make damn good choices, you know, in that process. So, you know, and I look at ads today and the first 5 lines are about, you will love this executive home. Who's telling me what? So it's changed a lot in that sense.
There's no cell phones.
No computer. No phone. No, nothing like that. My boss gave me a little tobacco tin of coins, you know, which I had to put down under the seat. So when I needed them, I had to find a phone box and make a call from there, you know.
How interesting.
Yeah, so vastly different. So, you know, you had to listen to what people were telling you and learn as hard as you could, because you didn't want to be way in the back of Mount Roskill or somewhere like that and then suddenly find you didn't know something.
How do you show the client in those days? Meaning, like, do you travel by car, bus, bike?
Most times you'd meet them somewhere around the corner. You know, you wouldn't tell them what the address was. That was all secret squirrel stuff. And so you'd say, look, I'll meet you up at White Swan Road, and then follow me. And I'd wave to the guy. If he was sitting on the side of the road, we'd go around the corner and then enter the house. You know, so you'd have a key, or the key would be under the mat. You know, or the key would be under a stone at the front door, or you carried your own leg keys to get in through the back door.
So fast track forward now to this current day. What are you doing now?
What I'm doing today, I'm talking to people like Donha, or I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm independent auctioneer around. I've got a number of good clients. So we are at the coalface, and that's what I love about the industry. You know, you've got to take the highs and the lows as you go through, and being at the coalface is always hugely important, I think, and that's what I am today. So I can still sit down and talk to people about what I see happening suburb by suburb. What always brusses me off in this business, Don, is they talk about the Auckland market. Well, you know, there's 108 or 112 suburbs in the Auckland market, and they're individual, and they're street by street and side of the street by side of the street, aren't they? Really, you know. So it's a nonsense, that sort of thing. And I find, you know, we've gone nowhere, the media, with in-depth, well thought out commentary. That is still very poor. And you know, you just go back to the newspapers. I'm a mad newspaper collector. Newspaper clippings of 07, 08, 09. The same stories are just being pulled out and rewritten today. Same things.
And how long have you been auctioneer now?
Since 1980.
How many auctions would it record now?
About 15,000 now, just on 15,000.
15,000?
Yeah.
You still have a voice?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I started, you know, in my youth in Taranaki, where we had a dance band, as it was called in those days. It'd be called a rock band today, but it was a dance band, because you had to do everything. You had to be versatile. And so, you know, that's what gave me rhythm, really, I think. And I'm a rhythm auctioneer, like the speed of keeping a banter going.
So when you're a freelance auctioneer, you call for anyone? You're not assigned to, say, Barfords or Harfords or anyone.
No. So, and I find that in my senior years, I suppose, Don, it's you're able to talk to people on a different level. You've been paid your fee, and you can sit down and have a natter with somebody, a vendor that is well overpriced or whatever, and try and help them. Where I think most agents today are just probably going and saying the market's changed. So what the heck's that mean? The market's changed. The only thing that's changed in the market that I see, as opposed to the global financial crisis and the Japanese financial situations we had earlier on, is that you can now clearly see, and I understand, motivation is gone. So the only thing that I think is important to an agent today or to a seller is understanding what motivation means and how what you've got to do to create motivation. The buyers are suddenly gone over this side and the sellers are still up where they are.
Yeah.
I personally think, and having experience of other crashes, bringing most vendors into a real world, if they have to come into a real world, might take 18 months to 2 years.
What's your career highlight and your career low experience?
A career highlight, I would say, would be selling the Fletcher Estate out on the top of the Pakuranga Hill there. That was an $8.1 million sale under the hammer.
Yeah.
And I've had, in my Bailey's days, I was with Bailey's, set up their auction division in '87, in May '87. Not understanding what we were going into. By October '87, you might remember, on the 18th, the crash happened then, So, and we had that, at that stage, the Fletcher Estate scheduled for auction, big tents, big marquee, all the stuff, out in the country, for auction on the 28th. Should we go? Should we stop? Should we go? Should we stop? So that was a big learning curve, to keep going. Well, huge crowd turned up. And Huey Green and all those sorts of people turned up as well. And, we finally got an opening bid at $3 million. We sold it for 8.1. So
wow. So your auction fee is still the same if you sell a property for 15 million to 600,000.
Yeah.
It's still the same fee. It doesn't go up or down.
You could make $1 million for a seller and he doesn't even give you a bottle of champagne.
Well,
that's the way it is.
That's a goodwill in the service of an auctioneer, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't think people realise what a good auctioneer can do, and it's no good sitting down.
So tell me, you not only do the auction, but you also do training as well?
Yes, I've had my own, when I left Bailey's, I had my own training business, and we essentially did a lot of work for Harcourts in those days, setting up the auction system within Harcourts and then doing training. I said to Stephen Collins at the day, look, what you need to do is train all your managers on how to be able to do an auction. Now they probably won't ever work at it, but they need to understand from one. Those were 3-day courses. We used to run them down at Hotel Devon and places like that. Really start. So they come into the training 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd work through to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. No booze, just get on with the job.
Well, 15,000 auctions is a huge number, and I haven't met anyone that does 15,000 auctions. So we are engaging you for your service to give some of our staff some knowledgeable information that you store, and we're looking forward to have you to do that, and I'm looking forward to spend some more time with you and get all your wise wisdom advice. Thank you for coming on the show.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Ross. The project on offer, finally now the Albany apartment building is now complete, and we now can access this building. 18 apartments only in the building and some retail downstairs. 5 minutes walk to Albany City itself, shopping centre, and park and ride right outside the building itself. The Ramada Hotel is also complete right next door. Plenty of parking. Now we got some 2 bedrooms there for $649,000. These are amazing properties. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, washing machine, dishwasher, dryer, drapes and curtains included. Very good corner balcony. You got to see this to believe it. And we also got the 2-bedroom jewel key as well. Again, most popular for investment. Live in one and rent the other one out. Okay, so you can have the studio paying you $400 a week, pay off 40% of your mortgage while you live next door. Or if you have a $2 million home, which is we got some client that's selling and downgrading because they don't need all the space anymore, and they look for a lock up and leave to go on holiday and then keep some money in the bank. We only got about 10 of these apartments coming up for sale. Viewing is now, we can view them on a daily basis or the weekend. So if you call one of our team, we show you pictures before, we show you plan before. You now can actually walk inside these apartments and see and touch the real product, what a jewel key will look like, because we got jewel key for sale in Manukau as well. But before you buy any of the jewel keys, you can now just walk in and touch and feel, see how spacious these projects are and these apartments are and the quality of the finish. I highly recommend you to come and see this project in Albany. And joining me now is Ravi Singh from Don Ha Real Estate. Ravi, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Don.
We know each other now for quite some time, and you probably want to be one of the longest agent in Don Ha Real Estate. So how long have you been in real estate now?
I'm going on to my 16th year now with you.
16 years?
Yeah.
Man, that's a long time.
It
so
is, yeah.
What were you doing before that?
I was an event manager, doing weddings and conferences, all sorts of functions.
Right.
Yeah.
And before that, I remember you had a story where you're working for an Indian restaurant. How many hours were you working in there?
Oh, I was doing Thursday night, starting around that 3:30 mark after school, and finishing around midnight. That was Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays.
And I recall how you're getting paid at $20?
$20 a night.
$20 a night.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And that's pretty hard work in those days.
Yes, it was.
But you didn't know any different then, did you? Have to go to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Money was money, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better.
Okay. And then what made you get into real estate?
You did, actually.
Okay.
I was ready to quit my event management job.
Yeah.
And you came along with an offer, and I took it and never looked back.
You know, like the real estate journey that we've been through, the prices at the time, 16 years ago, say the brand new home you were selling in Mangere. I remember you sold out like 100 houses off the plan in Mangere for one of our developer.
Yeah.
What was the prices then?
Brand new 3-bedroom houses with en-suites for $235.
Wow.
4 bedrooms were $265, and that was expensive.
And now the section is like 400,000 alone.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is, exactly.
Yeah.
400, 450 now for just the land out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the same house now, how much are they?
Last one I just sold in that same subdivision went for $730.
Wow, jeez. After 16 years?
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you see the changes in real estate? I mean, 16 years, most people, average agent, 80% of the agent quit first year, 90% quit second year. That's the stat. 16 years, still here. What made you sustain all that career?
Well, with your guidance, that's helped.
Okay.
And you have to be determined enough to be in this industry long enough.
Yeah.
Just got to use your gut feeling, really.
Yeah.
85 hours.
And the frustration you go through. I remember one time you sold, was it 19 properties and 18 of them fall over?
Yeah, just before Christmas.
Oh, man. So were you
Christmas,
counting on those 18 commissions?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
So that is the down of an agent, isn't it? When you've got 19 deals on the go, you think you get all this commission, and 18 it fall over, and you thought, I'm going to get this great money for Christmas, and I'm not getting it. And I guess that's the difference between a quitter and a non-quitter, because most people would have quit at the time, but you choose to carry on, and you're still here.
Yeah, well, you can't mope around. You got to pick yourself up again and carry on with it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you see the changes now in our current market? In those old days where we put people in the car, we drive them along.
Yeah.
Now we don't do that anymore.
Buyers are a lot more educated nowadays. They don't need too much advice from us. They know what they want. So I find that if you can match exactly what they want, you've got yourself a deal.
And in just 16 years, have you sold to the same family, their second home, third home, and their children?
Yes, I have actually. I was the very first subdivision we were talking about, sold to mum and dad, and their son was probably about 12 years old then. He's come back and bought a house off me now.
And how rewarding is it to see that we're on commission, you know, like every morning we get up, the first thing we put our feet down the carpet and go have a shower, and we're wondering where our income's going to come from. But being an agent on commission and being on commission for 16 years, it allows you to have family home, 2 kids, wife, holiday, investment property, and go to a vendor's house and have coffee with them, consult them, and then they trust you, they believe in you. How rewarding is that for you?
Very, very rewarding, yeah. It makes you feel $1 million when you make someone happy.
Yeah.
And you provide them with the service that they deserve and you get good feedback from them. That's what carries you along, yeah.
And would you say that 16 years in real estate is more valuable, but far more better advice in locations and rental properties, what area rents better, what area gets burgled more, what area got super growth, and how do you subdivide a house, how to sell a house with the plan. Well, it's pretty hard for a brand new agent to get into the industry to have that sort of experience that you have now.
Yeah, or everything takes time. I'm sure they'll get there as well eventually, you know. With the 16 years of experience, you ride the wave, you've seen the downturn, you've seen the hot market, you've seen the very slow market where nothing sold for 3-4 months. So you just have to be ready for those days as well.
And that's the difference between a quitter and a non-quitter.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty good at that. We've seen the wave quite a few times now, maybe 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
We've seen the new guys that come into the industry sell 6 houses in a month and say, "Yep, I can beat you." And next minute, 6 months, they sold nothing, and then he's out of the industry.
Yeah.
We've seen many of those, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
You know that the industry is doing really well when you hop in a taxi and the taxi driver's trying to sell you a house.
Right.
So, you know the market is good then, and then all of a sudden those sort of agents disappear.
So with the current LVR rules right now, 40% deposit for investor, do you see less investors now buying houses?
The smart ones are coming back now, the ones that have enough equity in it. It's the new mum and dad investors that have bought their first house, got just enough equity in it. They're the ones that are just sort of falling short with that 40% requirement.
Okay.
But they'll eventually get there, I reckon.
So is there a lot more first-time buyers that coming on the market right now?
Yeah, the last 4 sales I've done have been to home buyers. Sorry, last 3 out of 4 home buyers, 1 investor.
Okay, so that's been a change.
Yeah.
Well, no, 16 years in real estate, mate. 4 more years will be 20 years. So I don't know what to do when it's 20 years. That means I'll be in real estate maybe 27 years after that. Then, man, what do you do?
We've seen it all then, haven't we?
Yeah, cool. Well, Ravi, look, I am looking forward to see you in the next few more years, see where you go at your career. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. We are going to take a little bit of a break because I have an opportunity now to travel back to my homeland in Vietnam. I haven't been to Vietnam for like 37 years, but I only been to Vietnam about 8 months ago, and all of a sudden I get to go to Vietnam again within the same year, which is quite incredible. For 37 years now I haven't been back to Vietnam. Now I get to go back twice in 1 year. I'm traveling to Vietnam to meet some Vietnamese immigration officer, also traveling with a delegate from New Zealand as well. And we're visiting some people there, and we have an opportunity also to meet the president of Vietnam, believe it or not. Now, that's also a lifetime achievement to do that, because people in Vietnam actually don't even get to meet their presidents in their lifetime. And here's me going back, and I get to sit in his forum, his presentation, and talking about government economics between New Zealand and Australia, and also here. So I'm looking forward to speak my native language and also eat some of the amazing food Vietnam's got to offer, and also again to create that connection that I have missed out for many years, that I haven't been back to my country. So that will be a very emotional visit. This time it's all about business, and also about business opportunity between here and New Zealand. And join me now with the CEO of TOTARA Hospice, South Auckland, Tina McCafferty. Tina, welcome on the show.
Good morning, Don. Thank you for having me.
Tell me, hospice is a hidden thing for a lot of people, especially for the Asian community or the Indian community. And we don't often talk about hospice. And I only learned about hospice in the recent 12 months when I had the opportunity to visit the premises and the garden there in Manariwa. So could you explain what the hospice actually do?
Sure. Hospice is really a philosophy about celebrating life and about living every moment. It works with patients and families who've got a terminal illness and who are not expected to live really beyond 12 months. You mentioned on, people from different cultures, Asian and Indian communities, and often across different cultures, there's different views about death and dying. There's different cultural traditions about what gets spoken about and what doesn't get spoken about, for example. And I think one of the great things about hospice is that it manages to traverse multiple cultures, simply because we focus on living every moment of life and supporting the person and family until death happens. So it's focused on making the most of the time that you have left with great care.
So, like in our culture, for example, if someone is near dying, we keep them at home or in the hospital because we felt we must be close to them and we can't let them go. But when I get the opportunity to visit the hospice, the premises there is actually far superior than keeping people at home. And the service you provide, you have on-site doctor, food, nurse, 24/7 care. As a family, we couldn't provide that same care, and we wouldn't have the same equipment to keep the person comfort.
I think what's really important is that families have choices. So when you came down to visit our unit, yes, that unit runs 24/7, 365 and is there for patients and families who need it. But equally importantly, some families and some patients do want to provide or have their care provided at home, and we can do that at home within their own residence, or they can also come to our day hospice or outpatients. So there's a variety of services that assist people with choice, but it's certainly true for many families that nearer the end, when it's time for that person to pass, then 24-hour great care that allows the family just to be the family and not the carer is often the thing that people seek most.
And is there a restriction at visiting time, or
No,
you can visit
not at
anytime?
all. Not at all. The hospice is not a hospital, and it aims really to be a place where patients and families can make the most of the time that they have left.
Okay, and how does the hospice run? Is it run by charity, government donations?
It's run by a combination, so we have about 60% of our funding comes from District Health Board, and then really the community donations, local businesses and sponsors make up the residual amount of funds, the other 40%, and really the hospice wouldn't be able to provide free services to patients and families without that combination.
So the service is free. You mean patient don't have to pay to go to
That's right.
hospice?
Yeah, that's right.
Incredible for
That's right. And that's part
provider.
of the international philosophy of the hospice movement.
Yeah.
So that we can provide really holistic care and take the burden of cost away from anyone.
And the volunteers that involved in this program, say our famous friend Chetan Patel.
Yes, absolutely.
I went and saw visit the hospice, and then I saw his wife working in the kitchen.
Yeah, Jatin and Kamini.
Yes.
We're really lucky.
So how many people are volunteer in support of hospice, South Auckland?
You'll be astounded by this answer. Almost 700 people support the hospice in South Auckland. So for some people that means that they might do some work with us on a regular basis, 2 or 3 times a week, maybe in our inpatient unit or shops. For other people that might mean that regularly throughout the year they participate in a particular event or service. But really we take the 700 odd volunteers that we have and say that's a measure of our engagement and our connection with our community, which is really important for us.
And none of these people are getting paid for their time?
No, this is all the time that people are giving freely. And often when you ask people, why do you do that? Why us? Sometimes there's a connection to hospice. But for most people, it's about being able to tangibly give back to their community. And we really couldn't do without them.
That's amazing.
It is, it's incredible.
That's involved. So I know that Chetan, he's very passionate about charities and events. The last event that he did, I was there. We were the gold sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
hoping you'll do that again,
the
Tom.
amount of money we raised, were you expecting that?
Oh, no, the Diwali dinner that was really hosted by Jatin Patel Pike and yourselves as Donna, that was an astounding turnout, and the amount of funds and generosity that was raised for us was really very humbling, actually.
So is there, hospice, say hospice Wellington, hospice Hamilton, do they work together, or is it all individual bodies of each town?
The answer is both and. So the hospice movement is a federal structure. So we have a national office based in Wellington, which is Hospice New Zealand, which brings all of the individual members in each district or area within New Zealand together. So there's 31 hospices across Auckland, across New Zealand, of course, that do a variety of work for their communities.
And all of them runs on volunteer?
All of them will use volunteers working with them to a greater or lesser extent, but certainly my colleagues across the hospice movement would absolutely recognise their volunteers as the integral enabler of keeping them open and being able to provide services.
How do you get someone in your family in that situation, near death, into the hospice? What's the process to... I would never know
Sure.
that exists on that basis.
So usually the process is when someone has a terminal illness, they've been looked after by medical teams or doctors. Quite commonly, they might have some form of cancer or chronic disease. So usually the medical team or the person's GP will refer to our services, and then we'll make contact with that person and their family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did they see you? You see them? How does that work?
So what we aim to do is that we will make contact with them within 2 working days, and we will talk with them on the phone first, provide them with some information, and then depending on where they're at in their illness, we'll either go and visit them or they might come and visit us.
Okay.
It's totally centres around what the patient and the family need.
I think for our culture or for many cultures, talking about death is very uncomfortable subject.
Yeah.
But to provide the best comfort
Yeah.
for someone you love and give them the final care
Yeah.
is what you do.
That's right. And sometimes that takes all different forms. You know, for some people it's about managing pain really well. For some people it's about helping them with fear or distress. For other people it's about making sure that they're comfortable in the fact that they have their affairs in order or that they're able to connect with family. But really the key thing about being involved with a hospice is whether you've got a clinical, whether that's medical or nursing, a physio need, a social work need, a counselling need, or even a spiritual need. We have a team that will wrap around you to help you with the needs that you identify.
Well, Tina, look, that's a really good insight knowledge for our audience, and we're looking forward to the Life for Life
Us too.
event coming up in October with Jatin, and we're looking forward to see you there.
Yeah, we will. Thank you, Don.
for coming on the show.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The millionaire tip for the week. This week, I'm just going to recap of how many tips I've been giving out for the past 13 shows. So firstly, have you wake up an hour early in the morning? Have you call somebody that you don't want to call? Have you meet someone that's more successful than you are to learn off them? Have you dressed like a millionaire? Do you go out there and look at the car that you want to buy, visit the house that you want to buy, and talk to some estate agent for the experience? Have you worked extra hours since the time of the show, or are you still on your 40-hour week? Have you done an extra 20-hour week? Have you got an extra job? Have you set up a TradeMe account? Have you been out there to auction houses and buy some of those salt bottles, as I said, and sell them for more? Have you asked your neighbour if they want to mow the lawn? Have you asked your neighbour if they want to do any cleaning? Have you asked your neighbour if they need nanny care? Have you created another extra 20 hours of income? Have you reduced your debts? So these are just some of the captions. Have you travelled anywhere to learn some more knowledge about what you do? Have you read a book? Have you listened to a CD? Have you read the paper a bit more? Do you know more about your area that you live in, talking about house-wise? Have you attended any seminars? Well, if you haven't done half of those things, then you wonder why you're not a millionaire. But if you do all of those things, you already know that you are on path to become a millionaire, because you know that from the beginning of the show until now, your position has already changed. Thank you for joining us on the Don Ha Business Connect show. We are taking a break for a few weeks, but until then, make sure your business is working for you and don't be afraid to take action.